All right, how are you guys today? That's gonna be annoying, I can hear myself. All right, so I am filling in for Nazar. Nazar had asked me last week, he knew he was gonna be gone today, if I could take over. So here I am, lucky you guys. And today we are going to be talking about confidence. So this was something that we have noticed within the team and within ourselves that a lot of us need to work on. It's gonna be so annoying. So we're gonna jump right in. Oh, thanks. So I should put it back up, my amazing artwork. So here we go. Let me just check real quick before I jump on to make sure that there's nobody else in the waiting room. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so we're gonna watch this little thing and let me know if you guys can't hear the sound once we get going here.
Confidence is earned by doing the work. Confidence is earned by doing the work. So many people are saying to me, I'm coming off 2020 and I just don't feel confident. Like, I feel like I lost my swag. Yeah, I sold some houses, but there's just been so many things. I was forced into the digital transformation of my work life and my home life. And we're 300 days into this and I've just lost some confidence. What do I do to get it back? I was interviewing a pal of mine on my podcast, you'll see it, Phil Curtis, and I think he just said it beautifully. Confidence is earned by doing the work. Confidence is earned by doing the work. You don't get confident, then make the phone call. You don't get confident and then ask the person out. You don't get confident and then take the action. You take the action, and guess what happens? You become confident. 2021 is going to be a remarkable year for many people. I hope it is for you. If you understand, by doing the things, you get the power. Confidence is earned. Let's go out.
All right, guys, thoughts on that? Anybody? So.
Did you say my name?
I said your name. What are your thoughts on that?
I trust you calls and.
Okay, cool.
Basically, he's just saying, like, without actually doing, you're not going to get confident at it. I mean, and that kind of applies to anything. Like, even if you're a basketball player, if you're not out shooting your jump shots, then you're not going to be confident in you making that jump shot. So you just have to kind of do the work and put in the effort.
Oh my gosh, amazing segue. I will pay you afterwards. So here's our next one. So yeah, you have to do those things in order to become confident. So I want you guys to think about somebody that you think just is super confident. Like if you were to name somebody, it could be a celebrity, somebody in your life, who is somebody that is confident?
Nazar.
Nazar. Do you think Nazar became that way just by, okay, I have to become confident before I go door knocking, or I have to do this before I can do that? How do you think he got his confidence, Ryan?
Just by doing it.
By doing it, you're right. So by practicing those scripts, making those phone calls, that built his confidence. Do you think he was perfect when he first started?
Absolutely not.
No, absolutely not. So going off of Zoe's basketball thing, confidence comes from preparation. So Nazar was putting in those hours, he was putting in those phone calls, he was doing those things that he needs to do in order to gain that confidence and become successful. So here we go from the.
If I told you that there was a tried and true method that would help
guys.
you land a TEDx talk in the next 30 days.
If your job is to try to be the best basketball player you can be, to do that, you have to practice, you have to train. Right? You want to train as much as you can, as often as you can. If I start earlier, I can train more hours. And I know the other guys aren't doing it because I know what their training schedule is. If I do this consistently over time, the gap's just going to widen and widen and widen and widen and widen, and they won't be able to get that back. So to me, it was just common sense. I'm like thinking, how can I get an advantage? Oh, start earlier. My first class in high school was at 7:45. I used to get to the gym around 5 a.m. And and I'd play before school, just me and my coach. And sometimes it would just be me and the janitor. But I'd play during lunch and then practice after. And then go home, do my schoolwork, and then watch a bunch of game film and games on TV and study. The mentality is a really simple one. The confidence comes from preparation. So when the game's on the line, I'm not asking myself to do something that I haven't done thousands of times before.
Okay, the thing that I absolutely love about that is if you could put together the dream team, a dream team, like I'm sure for most of us, our number one draft is going to be Kobe Bryant, if we could, right? So when it came down to it, those last few seconds of the game, who were you going to pass the ball to? Not only did he have the confidence in himself, but his team had confidence in him that like, hey, chances are if I throw the ball to him, he's going to score that shot, whether it's a 3-pointer or he's driving, he's going to make that shot. And like he said, confidence comes from preparation. It's those hours that you put in before the game. It's those hours spent studying game film, doing all of that. And so then us in our line, you know, what are we doing before everybody else is up? What are we doing after everybody else has already quit for the day? Are we making those follow-up calls? Are we doing that door knocking? Are we doing those things that other people aren't willing to do? So we're going to go through and I have 10 things that can help you build your confidence. Maybe. I'm very confident in my technology skills, you guys, just really good at this. Okay, so 10 ways to build confidence. So the first one is get things done. Like Zoe mentioned, like it doesn't come, and Ryan too, like Nazar, it just didn't come. He built his confidence by accomplishment, right? It begins with those day-to-day goals. You know, you can achieve small goals, you can achieve big goals, but if you're going to feel much better, well, if you achieve those small goals, you're going to feel much better about yourself. Hold on right here. So we need to seek out those small victories. And we need to remember that big changes, these things don't happen overnight. So they say that confident people like to challenge themselves and compete, even when their efforts yield small victories. Small victories build new androgen receptors in the areas of the brain responsible for reward and motivation. The increase in androgen receptors increases the influence of testosterone, which further increases their confidence and eagerness to tackle future challenges. So many of you guys know that I have my precious little bundle of joy, Roscoe, our little puppy, and he's been going to dog school. You know, he's so super smart and he's so eager to please, but as he's learning these new, I wouldn't call them tricks, but these new commands and these new things, every time he learns something new, you can see that he builds on it and gets excited for the next thing. And his reward is treats or food. But think about it. When you are doing something, I like to do things around our house. And a lot of times I'll have like, oh my gosh, I can't figure this angle out for trim, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. And once I tackle that thing, it just makes me more excited to move on to the next thing. So that increase in those androgens is going to increase our confidence and our eagerness to tackle future tasks. So when you have a series of small victories, that's going to boost your confidence, and then it can last for months. So us, when we are setting these goals, our daily goals or our weekly goals, and as we are accomplishing those are going to make us eager and reward us, and we're going to want to make those bigger ones. So those weekly ones and those monthly ones are going to turn into biannual and yearly goals that we can tackle. But again, don't get discouraged. Remember that progress is incremental. Like those big changes, they're not going to happen overnight. So we just need to set those goals and go for it. Let's see who's on here. Sorry. I can see why Nazar's like, oh, turn your camera on. Hold on here. So Rochelle, what are some goals that you've set for yourself? And it can be weekly, it can be yearly, just like something that you've set for yourself. Oh, Rochelle jumped off. What? Nice. Okay, Brian, how about you? What are some goals that you've set for yourself?
So recently, I don't know if it was COVID-15 or just getting old 15. Certainly, like eating better is something I'm working on constantly. I was trying to not eat after 4 p.m. And so I do find that to be true. Like the more you accomplish a goal, the easier it gets.
Yeah, I know once you those first couple of pounds, right? When you're seeing progress, makes you more motivated. You're like, oh, I got this. I can do this next few pounds, or it's worth it what I'm doing, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Especially like the first couple times I was trying not to eat after 4 p.m. I was like, oh, that's too much, because I love like treats in the evening. So yeah, the more you do it, the more easier it gets.
So we call those bed snacks, just so you know, Tessa and I, your bed snacks.
I love bed snacks.
Yep, bed snacks. Okay, cool. So the other thing that we do, and I know you guys hear us like put in your calls, put in your appointments. There's a reason for that. As you're monitoring your progress or you're breaking those larger goals into smaller goals, you're going to be able to see the best way to accomplish those, right? So if you quantify your accomplishments, like, hey, this is the number of appointments I set for the week. This is the number of calls and texts that I made this week. These are the number of doors I knocked. And then as you're doing that, you can see like, oh, I had to call 100 people in order to talk to 10 people. So I know like how many things I need to do to reach that goal, right? And write down your goals. It helps you stay on course. It helps you build confidence as you see that progress that you're making in real time. You've heard us and we've done things on SMART goals. So we take that overall big yearly goal and we put it in smaller, more manageable goals. Because again, going back to it, as we tick off those accomplishments, it makes us more motivated to keep doing what we're doing in the long run. Let's see here. Sorry, I have to monitor like people that are in the waiting room. So I got to move my people around so I can see the things. All right. The next thing is doing the right thing. This may sound like weird in like, how does that build confidence? But confident people, they live by a value system. Okay. They make decisions based on that system, even when it's hard, even when it's like, hey, that's not necessarily going to be in my best interest, but it's going to be in the interest of the greater good, right? So your actions and your decisions, they define your character. So ask yourself, what is the best version of myself that I would want to be? And then do those things that make you that person. So the last thing you want to do, even if it, oh, Rochelle jumped back on, sorry. Even if it's really hard and it's that last thing that you would ever want to do, just do it. Even if it's a short-term sacrifice on your part, in the long run, you're going to be much happier. So going back to Brian, how does that, like not eating after 4 o'clock, how fun is that?
Not fun. But you know what? It does build confidence. Like the more I do it, the more easier it gets.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it may be hard to believe, but I used to be an athlete. I used to run, I used to play sports. And now, like several years ago, I tore the tendons in my ankle, and that was kind of it. I didn't run anymore. I didn't go to the gym anymore. And it really, like going from being very, very active to almost not active at all, really took a hit on my confidence. Like it's hard. So before COVID, and I started exercising again, I started running again, and it was crazy to see like how much I'm like, okay, I'm going to start out small. I'm going to run to this end of the street, and I'm not stopping until I get to that light post. And once I could do that, okay, now I'm not stopping until I get to that light post. So doing those things that were painful, but in the long run, I knew was going to benefit me. We'll jump more on this in a second. With the doing things that are right, even though they may not benefit you, let's touch a little bit more on that. Like, what are some of those situations that apply in our field? Peter. Can you have access to the little box? He's going to say, what was the question? Can you touch on that, doing the right thing, even if it doesn't benefit you?
Yeah, so if it's let's just say, for example, looking at listings and it pays a 1%, 1.5% commission, and everybody hates showing those, but it's a house your client likes, show it to them, sell it to them, even if it's nicer than the one down the, or if it's nicer than the one down the street paying 3%, don't look at that.
Yeah, that's a
If they're an
perfect example.
approved buyer or whatever, then guide them and try to get them to work with you. If they don't, then you don't waste time, you just learned a lesson.
What about if you have a client that you've been working with and all of a sudden they're like, hey, I no longer am going to purchase and I just wasted several months of your time. I want to rent now. What do you do in that situation?
Help them find a rental, and then when they're ready to buy it, then they're going to come around to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I just had that situation happen to me where I had a referral from one of our friends in Texas, and we for 2 months, every weekend I was in South Orange County showing them properties, and they were going to buy $1 million+ home, decided to rent. So then for another month, I'm showing them rental properties. They weren't even in that home 6 months, and they called me and they're like, we hate renting, we hate the area, we want to purchase, and we're now in escrow on a property. So it's, did it suck doing that? Did I like giving up my weekends after I work 40+ hours during the week to get, I think the commission for the rental didn't even cover my toll roads or my gas. I think I was, still in the hole on that. But in the end, it came out better. But what we do, we're, like Peter said, a 1% listing, we do it. They want to go and see a lease, we do it. That's what we're here for. So we need to do what's best and do the right thing. When you're in our office and you see around the top part of it with all of our core values, we live by those core values. We're supposed to, that's what we want to do. If somebody calls, I had a friend that called me and she's like, hey, I have a friend that's thinking of selling, but she wants to know what's going on in the market because she has an agent telling her she has to sell right now, that it's going to crash. And this was several weeks ago before we had what's going on in the world. And I'm like, no, that's not the case. Have her call me. I'm like, I'm not going to pressure her to list, but I'm going to educate her. I'm going to tell her everything. When we have Brian Decker come in and give us information, I'm going to share that with her to educate her, because she may not end up listing this year. But that my friend that contacted me and her, they're going to give my information out to the next person. Like, hey, Christina didn't pressure us, but she educated us and gave us the information. So does it help me now? No, not in the short term, but in the long term, it will. The next thing, going back to running, is exercise. How does exercise build your confidence? So it has been proven time and time again that exercising regularly helps memory retention. It improves your focus. It helps manage stress and prevents depression. And I love this part. It's harder to be anxious when there's no excess energy to draw upon. So all of you mamas out there, I don't know if I believe that 100%, because I could be bone tired at the end of the day and still be very anxious about anticipating what the next day brings. But I see it when you're worn out and you have no more energy, basically. It's, you're going to sleep better, all of those things. So it's important that we are exercising and being active and taking time to take care of ourselves. Be fearless. So I want you guys to think, in my mind, when I think of a successful person that is fearless, Elon Musk pops in my head, especially after do you guys know what he did over the weekend?
What do you do?
So there was a tweet by one of the ministers in the Ukraine saying like, hey, Elon, they're knocking out our internet. We could sure use some Starlink satellites. His response was done. 8 Starlink satellites over the Ukraine. He's like, more are on their way. So he basically is like, take that, Putin, here we go. So this guy is completely fearless. And like going back and looking at the things that he's done, do you think Tesla happened overnight? How many times do you think that he failed? And he said, never fear failure, welcome it and learn from it. It's a necessary part of innovation and the way that companies move forward. So he's not afraid to try something new. He's not afraid to go out there and do things. He just goes for it. He knows that Failure is part of growing and learning. I don't think we have anybody else jumping on, so I'll close that, sorry. So failing isn't your enemy. It's fearing that failure that truly cripples you. So if you have big goals and you have big dreams, you're gonna feel overwhelmed, and you're going to have that voice inside of your head that's gonna be like, yeah, I don't think you can do this. And you're gonna have to gather every ounce of your courage and just keep going. So going back on Elon and every other wildly successful person, they've been afraid, but the difference between them and a lot of us is that they've kept working and they take that risk anyways, because they're trying to accomplish what they're trying to accomplish is way more important and urgent than the fear that they will fail. So think about how much you want to achieve your goal, and then put that fear to the side and keep going one day at a time. So you hear us ask, what's your why? What's your why? Every time you're starting to be afraid, oh, I don't want to knock on that door. They may not answer, or even more, they may answer. And then what do I say? Like, put that fear to the side. Okay. This one I think is really important. And a lot of us need to work on this, and not just standing up for ourselves with other people, but standing up for ourselves with ourselves, right? You have it in you. So tell them you believe in your goal, you believe in yourself, so you're going to accomplish that. And a lot of times that is what we're telling ourselves, because we are our biggest critics, and we're the people that are putting those doubts in our minds and telling us, you can't do that. You know, you haven't worked in years. Why do you think that you'll be able to accomplish this? Why you're brand new, you just got your license. Why do you think you'll be able to do that? And kudos, Jason, a shout out to you. I see you in here working your butt off, and I am super proud of you. Like, you're going for it. So cool to see. But yeah, stand up for yourself and don't ever let anyone make you feel like you don't deserve what you want. Okay, I don't know, I just used a template in Canva, so just appreciate the eye mask on this one. The next one is following through. So when people respect people that say what they are, when they say they're going to do something, they do it. Hi, Jason, this is Christina. Oh, are you looking to blah, blah, blah? No problem. I'll reach back out to you in a couple of weeks. And then I reach back out to them in a couple of weeks, right? That's doing a couple things. That's creating respect with them, and you're respecting yourself, and you're putting belief in yourself. So as you're doing these things that you're saying and following through, it's going to become easier, and you're going to know that you're not afraid of the work. You're able to pick up that Zillow call. You're able to make those phone calls. You're able to do door knocking because you've set that goal. You've told yourself you're going to do it, and you've done it. Actions give your words meaning, and it helps you create that path so that you can accomplish your goals. I love this one, thinking long-term, okay? When we, another Elon Musk thing, he says that many people only choose to be ordinary. They're not made to be so. That you need to work on being extraordinary and define the norms, okay? So when we're thinking long-term, we need to remember that the foundation of unhappiness is decisions that are made for short-term comfort. So going back on Brian and his COVID-15 and my COVID, I think I'm at COVID-30 now, that all of those decisions and all of those bed snacks were short-term gratification, right? But in the long term, they're not healthy and they're not good for me. So when we are making those short-term decisions for comfort, those are impeding our long-term goals. So if you're trying to save money, you probably shouldn't go out to eat as often, right? If you're trying to lose weight, you shouldn't eat French fries every day or bed snacks every night. Big goals, they require big sacrifices. So you have to dig deep and really discipline yourself. So when you're in here or you're at home working and you're making those calls where you could instead just be relaxing or doing whatever, that's a sacrifice. You're sacrificing your time in order to achieve your goals. In the moment, it can be frustrating. You can be like, is this worth it? But in the long term, it's going to pay off, right? Shauna Marie, you were on there, right? Will you share your story about Kendra? Where did you get those people from, and how long did you follow up with them?
when I first started. I went door knocking. So
Wait, when you first
April?
started, how long were you here? You weren't here very long when you went door knocking.
No, like a week or two, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So March or April. I was door knocking actually, and somebody else took me into their house and showed me around and said that the only way that they would sell is if this particular person sold their house because they loved their house so much. And I was like, well, what house is that? Let me go there. So they gave me the address and I knocked on their door and they showed me around and said the only way that they would sell is if they found a home on Kendra Lane. So I went to Kendra Lane and I knocked multiple times and left multiple letters on people's doors. And finally, they didn't respond to me, but one of Tessa's clients in the past was on Kendra Lane. And because I was knocking on so many doors and she knew what I was doing, she says, well, they're willing to sell, but only for 1.4. So we're supposed to be closing tomorrow, but you don't want to know that story. My palms are sweating today. I'm super stressed out, but
but it will close.
I don't know. We'll see what's going on.
It will go. Good thoughts. So, but like short term, was it comfortable and did you feel great out there door knocking by yourself? You've only been an agent for a week and a half.
So my rolling stream, by the way, was door knocking too.
Yeah.
But before I left the house, I made the flyers and then I sat at the house, and that part was really hard to leave my house. It's kind of like going to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
You can't leave your house to get to the gym. It's really, really hard, but once you get there, it's not so bad. So it's, for me, even if I do it now, it's hard for me to get in the car and go. But once I knock on the first door, it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Talking to everybody.
So it's paid off though. That short-term sacrifice and going out of your comfort zone has paid off. Like you're door knocking not only just on that property, which you're going to turn around and sell here in the next few months, but you were able to get the highest ever on Kendra by being persistent and looking for the long-term goal. So would you say that it paid off?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I kind of kick myself that I don't do it more often, but yeah.
And then do you also feel that you've gained a lot of confidence because of that you realize that doing those things are paying off, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It made me a lot more comfortable just talking to people randomly about real estate. So
there you go. But wait a second, you randomly were talking to people, so you didn't have an appointment set up and you hadn't practiced for a long time before doing it. So how are you able to do it?
I you know what? I'm sorry, you guys aren't going to like what I have to say right now, but I didn't practice it because I didn't want to sound like a robot when I was there. So I just went and knocked on the door and whatever came out of my mouth came out of my mouth.
But going back to what we were talking about is that you have to do it in order to gain that confidence, right? So by doing it and possibly failing, not knowing the answers to what they're asking, if they asked you a question and you didn't know the answer, did that happen?
Yeah.
And so what happened? Did you just like, I don't know, or that's a good question, let me get you the answer? You learned from that experience, right?
Yeah,
but it didn't make you never go and do it again, right?
Right.
Yeah, love it. So big confidence, and and I have seen the growth from when last year to now in Shauna, like just her, and I'm not saying this in a negative way at all, just the amount of questions that she asks from us now, she's learned and has that information now. And I think that she's able to relay it to her clients and people that she's door knocking. Go out and door knock more, please. Okay, the next one is this chart right here. 7.9 billion, that's the world population. 39.51 million, that is 2021 California population. That's the amount of people you should care about, of what they think about you. You shouldn't care about whatever, what anyone thinks about you but yourself, right? So there's going to be so many people out there that are going to tell you, Shauna, you're not going to be able to do that. Shauna, you're not going to be able to get that listing. You just started real estate. Tyre, you're young. Nobody's going to use you. Like, all of those things are excuses. You need to just ignore what they're saying and accomplish your goals, right? People are going to try to tell you that goal is too big. they're going to try to tell you you're not ready or you can't do this, right? That it's never been done before. So why should you be able to do it? And you absolutely cannot listen to them, okay? You have to be resolute. And while they tell you that the odds are against you, etc., just remember that most people, and I love this, remember this, most people, why is Peter, oh, whoops, what's happening? Oh my gosh, tell me we're in a meeting, we can't. And just tell them that I didn't get the fire extinguishers yet. Oh, I didn't get the fire extinguishers yet. Okay, tell them. So, sorry, fire work guy is here. Most people are wrong about most things, okay? So when they're telling you you can't do something, most people are wrong about most things. People change the world every single day, despite what everybody around them is telling them and telling them, you can't do that, you can't do this, but people go on and do it. So if you think you can do it, you can do it. Don't listen to them, believe in yourself and keep going. I think about my youngest daughter, and I've probably shared this with some of you people, that I realized after, she's my fourth, and I realized she never took swimming lessons. So I'm like, she could save herself in the pool. She was my one at 18 months that's doing flips off the diving board, but she never took like real swimming lessons. And so this year, she's a freshman, and she played volleyball, and she had to have a PE for the 6th period. And so she chose swim and water polo because my other daughter's the TA for it. Well, you have to be on the team. And so she started playing water polo, and she's like, I can't even tread water. So she went from not being able to tread water to, we're like, oh, Jill, maybe you should just go do yoga because there is a yoga class or whatever. She's like, no. Her coaches came up to me and told me she is the most determined kid that they've ever coached. Like, she was like, okay, I'm going to figure out how to tread water. I'm going to figure out how to do a freestyle, all of these things. And she ended up being a starter for every single game and ended up being a phenomenal water polo player. But she, we're all like, you're probably going to drown. That was like my level of standard. I'm like, did she drown today? No. Okay, good. Go back tomorrow. But she was determined to be the best, and she didn't listen to anything we were saying. And having her older sister in the class, terrorizing her every day, like, Jill, get out of the pool. Jill, get out of the pool. No, she's like, I'm going to do this. So we need to keep that. We need to not listen to them and believe in ourselves. And then the last thing, sorry, we're going a little bit over, guys, is do more of what makes you happy. So whatever it is that you love, make sure that you're creating that space for it, because life is so short and you need that time to enrich your life and to recharge and to be your best self. So those little tips, being more confident, the main takeaway is just do it, you guys. Practice, do it. And that you'll become more confident in all of those things that you're working on, those goals that you want to do. And that's it. Any comments from you guys? We're good.
That was great. That was great, Christina.
Thanks, guys. Go out and be productive. If you need anything, just reach out to us.
Will you make this available?
Yeah, I can share this for sure.
All right. There was a couple of them that
you missed.
No, that just kind of hit me, certain way.
Sure.
So I just want to go back and look at them.
Yeah, I'll drop it on, I'll download the thing and drop it on, what's it called? Slack?
All right, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome, guys.
Thank you.